Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Hidden Upgrade Weekly Update. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Man, I know a lot of you are probably upset that this took so long, and I apologize that it did, but man, has it been a busy last couple of days in the commissioner's office, so apologies for how long this took to get out. Try to be better in the future. But yeah, sometimes it's just tough, man. Sometimes you just got to work through stuff. We do have an exciting Coach's Corner, as always, this week. So we'll start off with that, and we will send it over to the wonderful Past Matt with this week's weekly update. Or Coach's Corner, my apologies. Go ahead, Past Matt, take it away. Thank you, Future Matt, for yet another great introduction, and welcome everyone to another interview in the Coach's Corner. This week's episode is brought to you by DraftKings. Deposit up to $500 now. We will match your initial deposit dollar for dollar. Quick disclaimer from DraftKings, they're no longer accepting bets from Wyoming or for Wyoming games due to rumors that have surfaced about them, including with the refs. Please gamble responsibly and remember that 99% of people stop gambling right before they hit big. On this episode, it is my pleasure to welcome Coach Zach Menenberger to the corner. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Thanks. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Now, Coach, I did want to ask you to start out here. We know about your time as a player at LSU, and you also had a brief stint in NFL. What made you to decide to get into coaching?
I'll be honest. I've always loved the coaching aspect. I mean, as a quarterback, you're kind of a coach on the field, right? So I've always in love the camaraderie, being around the guys and the competition. I knew soon after my playing career was over that I wanted to be involved in coaching, and the fact that I'm at my alma mater is just it's a dream come true.
Yeah, you had a great seasons there at LSU. You know, you had some success in the NFL, but it looks like you found your true passion in coaching, so I like that.
So yeah, when you're throwing balls to OBJ and Jarvis Landry, it makes the job a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are almost through 2 full seasons here at LSU as the coach. You have a 16-6 record overall. However, you are 1-3 against your rivals, and you're 4-5 against top 25 teams. What do you feel like has to change for you to start winning these tougher games?
Yeah, we just got to come together. I mean, I'm still growing as a coach. This is only, like you said, right? I've just been in it for like a year and a half or so. So I'm just learning more about myself, learning more about my players. We've already established like a pretty good culture around the program. We just need to grow and get better, and that comes with reps, practice, experience, games. We're having a really good season so far, right? I mean, if the season ended today, we're in the playoff, and that's everyone's goal, right? Just get in the playoff, and let's have a chance to make a run here. So we're excited where we're at. We know that we have games coming up, important ones. And if we do what we're capable of doing, we'll be in the position to make a run in January.
Speaking of that, Coach, this season your Tigers have a 7-2 record, and like you said, you're still very much in the playoff hunt. But you have some tough games to close out your season this year. First, you have a game later on in the season against Coach Joey Horn of Kentucky, and that's in Week 11. And then you close out your season against a very tough Arizona team who has already pulled off many upsets this season. How do you like your chances of winning out and getting into the playoff?
You know what? Our sole focus is really on the Beavers of Oregon State. They're our next game. We have to travel to Corvallis this coming weekend. And to be honest, our focus is on them. That's no disrespect to Coach Horn and what he's doing there in Lexington. He's a great coach. He and I have had battles in the past, and I've really enjoyed those. But right now our focus is on the Beavers. Our plan is to go into Corvallis and leave with a win.
All right. Don't want to look ahead too far. I respect that, definitely. So let's instead look at the past a little bit here. Let's talk about the 2 losses that you've had this year. Your first loss was against an incredibly dominant Florida team in the Gators that are coached by Hey, Would You Lick My Balls? And they have recently, you have recently lost to Coach Rick Dalton in the Tulane Green Wave. What are your thoughts on those programs? And do you think, given the opportunity to face them again, you can take them down?
Yeah, when we went down to Florida the second week of the year, man, we just ran into a buzzsaw. That is such a good program. They're such a good physical team. They're studs all over the field, right? On the offensive line, the running has more than 2 or 3 running backs that can take over a game. Not to mention the quarterback who's a running threat himself, and then the defense is, the stats kind of speak for themselves. What a great program! What a great atmosphere that was. We just did not play well. They were the better team on that day, and we went on that long winning streak. After that, we took that loss very personal, and our next opponents kind of felt that. We had a they kind of gave us an attitude adjustment when we went down to Gainesville and put out that poor performance, and that was until we went down to Tulane. That was another road game where we did not play well. First and foremost, I want to give credit to the Daltons. I've known the Daltons for a very long time. Rick Dalton is a good friend of mine. I know his family, his dad, Dick, and his mom, Norma Jean. Also his brothers, Barry and Terry. I know that whole family. They're great. With what he's got going on with his daughter, that's bigger than football, right? I mean, in our game kind of encapsulated the week and the weekend festivities, but the game itself, we're not very happy about the performance that we put out. Coach Dalton had an excellent game plan, and they executed it to perfection. Offensively, we were not in rhythm, and defensively, we just couldn't get off the field. So hats off to Coach Dalton. He's a class act, just class personified. What he's done at Tulane over these past few years has really been impressive. He's made the playoffs. He probably make the playoffs again this year. And then to answer the latter part of your question, if we were to see Florida or Tulane in the playoffs, should we be fortunate to make it that far to match up with them again, we definitely learn from our mistakes, try to capitalize on the opportunities that are given to us, and look forward to if we were to match up with them, it would be an entertaining contest.
I like that, Coach. I respect to you as well for the whole GoPhilia campaign that you and Rick Dalton put on there. That was a great show of support there.
It's bigger than football, man. I mean, if I was having trouble with I have little girls. I have another one on the way. If my kids were going through something like that, I know that Rick Dalton and the other coaches in our league would step up to the same plate, or step up to the plate, just like I did. So it would be reciprocated, no doubt.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about your team this year, and I kind of want to focus specifically on your receiving core. Your team as a whole is great, but your receivers are some of the best that we've seen in terms of speed. Was this a strategic move on your part to go after speed at this position, or did you just have a little bit of luck there in terms of getting those receivers?
Probably a little bit of both. No, I mean, speed kills, right? Especially in this league, you can never have too much of it at any position. The fact that we have weapons on the outside that can take it to the house at any time is a real advantage, and you can kind of see that in our losses. In the games that we have lost, we didn't do well from a passing game perspective. In the games that we won, the receivers and the quarterbacks and the offense as a whole, and the defense really has played really well. So it's not just about the receivers; it's about the offense, the defense, and special teams. We have good players all throughout our roster, and we believe that we can make a deep run coming to January.
Let's hope so. Yeah, they're fun to watch for sure. So let's
Great
get
group
into
of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into one of the bigger rivalries that's going on right now, which is actually perpetrated by Coach Rick Dalton, I think, in an offhand comment that he made a couple of weeks ago in the coach's corner.
I heard about that.
Yeah, it was a rivalry between you and your brother. I don't know if there's anything to that, but your brother, Daniel Sleeper from Cal, Rick Dalton says you're the better coach. Coach Suburban Meyer shared that sentiment on X the other day. What is your opinion?
Really? I did not see that.
Yeah, what is your opinion on that, Coach? Who do you think is the better brother?
I've known Daniel since the day he was born. He is a phenomenal coach. I feel like he's one of the best coaches in our league. The job that he's done at UCLA and Cal, respectively, kind of speaks for itself. He and I have what's in those NFL where it has like shared practices, like shared scrimmages and stuff. We do stuff like that sometimes, and I'll be honest, like more often than not, he gets the best out of me. but he's a great coach, and what he's done at Cal so far this year has been admirable. He's had some hiccups outside of Florida and Wyoming, haven't we all, right? But I respect Daniel very much, and I thoroughly, and this is no disrespect to any other coaches in our league. I think Daniel's one of the best coaches in our league.
Powerful words there. I like that. Definitely supporting the brother. There could be some brotherly rivalry there, but I like that you're shutting that down quick.
I'll be honest with you, man. Like, as long as he's not facing me, I hope he wins every game he plays.
All right. Well, so let's get to the final portion, and we always do this with all of our Coaches Corner. We've reached the portion that we call the "Say It with Your Chest" portion of the interview. And Coach Mettenberger, this is your opportunity to talk your shit, call someone out. If you just want to hype up your team, you can kind of say whatever you want. Just make sure that you say it with your chest. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, first and foremost, God is good all the time. I'm a Christian, and I know there's a lot of disagreement and turmoil in this country right now, and God's still in control. He's controlling everything, and things are happening for a reason. I'm very thankful to be a part of this, be a part of this league, and be a coach of one of the best schools in the nation. I'm proud to be a Louisiana Tiger, and I'm here as long as they will have me. And I'm thankful for the opportunity to be on here, and looking forward to see what we can do if we're fortunate enough to make the playoffs.
Powerful words, Coach. You like that. And thank you again so much for spending some time answering questions with us today, and good luck to you for the rest of your season.
Of course, I appreciate it. Go Tigers.
Yes, sir. Now I will go ahead and send it back to Future Matt for the rest of the weekly update. Thank you, as always, Past Matt, for a fantastic interview. Thank you for Coach Zach Mettenberger, a.k.a. Coach Steven Sleeper, for that fantastic interview. We appreciate you taking the time to do that with us. So let's go ahead and get into the rest of the weekly update. Some sad news this week. We got zero clips. Zero clips this week. I can really only speak for Coach Suburban Meyer because he contacted me directly about this. He was so devastated by his loss to Kansas State that he didn't even think to send me anything. He's just been in a deep, silent contemplation in a dark room for the last week. So he hasn't had time to do any of that stuff. So shout out to Coach Suburban. Hopefully he starts feeling a little bit better in the future. So let's go ahead and get into this. We just talked to Coach Zach Mettenberger. He had a big win last week against Utah. 31-10, took them down. Virginia Tech, as we said, Coach Suburban Meyer just having a very down season. Not sure what's going on over there at Virginia Tech, but he's got to bounce back. He's not going to be able to do much this season. He might be able to make a bowl game, but outside of that, he's just going to have to start focusing on next year. Then we had our game of the week. Actually, we'll get to the game of the week last. Apologies. So then we had Wyoming, who hosted Arizona, a team that has played spoiler to a lot of our Big 12 teams this year. They ended up getting a very close 3-point win as Arizona tried to come back in the end, but Wyoming was able to hold them off. Coach Big Papa Jr. gets another victory to remain undefeated, taking down Arizona 35-32. And then Florida, what's there to say? Coach Haywood keeps doing things over there. He keeps blowing out teams. This time 80-6, just an absolutely obnoxious score. Video game numbers across the board in that game. And then we have Coach Daniel Sleeper, the brother of Coach Zach Mettenberger, who we just spoke to in the corner. He took down Washington State in pretty convincing fashion, 59-28. Has a big game coming up this week. We'll get into that a little bit later. And then we had another coaching matchup between Coach Rick Dalton and Coach Dusty, where Rick Dalton just shit on Dusty. Let's just be real. I've been told by multiple sources I should stop cussing on the show because it hurts the brand that kids watch the show, but fuck that. Dusty, you got your shit pushed in. What are you doing, man? Let's focus the fuck up. Apologies to all the sponsors and everything. DraftKings, I'm so sorry. Wendy's, I'm so sorry, but what the fuck is going on? All right, so getting back into the game of the week, we have Colorado going to Kentucky. This was a close, great game. Let's look a little bit deeper into this. Kentucky seemingly had just their foot on the throttle the entire game, and then something happened in the fourth quarter. something went down. Colorado scores 14 unanswered points, including a touchdown in the waning seconds of the game. They kind of dominated a lot of different parts of the game. Total offense, first downs, passing yards, all that stuff. They were 4 and 5 in fourth down conversions. That's just ridiculous. Just obnoxious. And then, absolutely killed the time of possession. We're seeing a trend of that recently where whoever wins the time of possession usually wins the game, and that rings true here in this game as well. So shout out to Coach Shane Falco for continuing to do great things over there in Colorado. Hopefully he can continue and possibly make a deep playoff run. Coach Joey, focus the fuck up. Focus the fuck up. That's all I'm going to say. You had that game in the bag. You fumbled it. Let's not do that again. All right, let's move on. This week, we got a couple of big games. We got Virginia Tech at Kansas. Can Suburban Meyer get out of his funk and take down a Kansas team that is just absolutely ass? If he was going to get a bounce back game, this would be it. Kansas is the perfect team for that. And then we got Tulane hosting Utah. Coach Rick Dalton looking to continue his playoff run, or his hopeful playoff run. And then we have Coach Zach Mettenberger, as he spoke a little bit about in the Coach's Corner, traveling to Oregon State to take them on. Hopefully he can get a big victory there. Root for your coach. And then big game. Florida hosting Georgia. Georgia last season had a big last-second Hail Mary victory over Florida. I'm sure Coach Haywood has not forgotten that. And he will be hopefully looking to get his revenge against Georgia this year. You got Wyoming taking on Colorado State. Coach Big Papa Jr. looks to continue his undefeated season. Got a big matchup between Coach Daniel Sleep, who's going to be traveling to Boulder, Colorado, to take on Coach Shane Falco. That is going to be a huge game. And then we have Coach Dusty and Coach Eric. We'll see if Coach Eric can show up. We'll see if Coach Dusty can show up metaphorically. And we'll see who wins that game. So good luck to both those coaches. And then last but not least, we have Coach Joey is going to be traveling to Oklahoma to face Oklahoma State, looking to bounce back after a loss against Shane Falco and his Colorado Buffaloes. And that brings us to our game of the week this week, voted on by the committee. Should not be any surprise to anybody. It is going to be Colorado hosting California. This is going to be a great game. We actually just got word this game is going to be happening tonight at 10 p.m. Make sure you tune in. Make sure you watch that. And make sure you cheer on your favorite team. Good luck to both coaches in that matchup. And then we're going to look at the top 25. Florida still not getting the respect they deserve. They get a win against Georgia. I'm sure they will pop up to number 1. I would be shocked if they didn't. Tulane holding down the number 5 spot. Coach Zach Mettenberger and LSU holding down the number 7 spot, slowly inching their way up the charts, as well as Coach Shane Falco in Colorado at number 10. Coach Big Papa Jr. still undefeated, as we said before, at number 13 now. And then last but not least on this list in terms of players, we have California. Coach Daniel Sleeper still holding in there, 5-3. You know, one more loss, he might fall out of the top 25, but he doesn't plan on losing. We'll see if this is going to be a big matchup between him and Colorado. This is going to have a lot of playoff implications tonight, so make sure you tune in for that game. And then I hesitated a little bit to include this because we're so early in the playoff bracket, but this is the first official playoff bracket, so I figured I would at least call it out. As we can see, Florida with the bye initially, LSU projected to face against Nebraska, Colorado against Georgia, and Tulane against Clemson. So that's the current projections. Obviously, that's going to be very, very subject to change, so let's keep an eye on that as it goes forward. Got our players of the week. Last week, the National Offensive Player of the Week was Tank Hawkins. The National Defensive Player of the Week, I don't remember, I think it was from Liberty. But the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Week, again, Deshaun Womack seems like he lives on this Player of the Week category. 4 tackles, 2 sacks. And then, like we said before, Tank Hawkins, halfback from Florida, had a monster game, 140 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 53 receiving yards, and 4 receiving touchdowns. Just obnoxious numbers, obnoxious. And then the Heisman race. Look at this. Look at this. We have nothing but Big 12. Nothing but coaches. This is what we love to see. We have 2 in the top 2 from LSU, Florida. Kelly Collins is holding down the number 3 spot, the left end, the only defensive representative on this list. and then the 2 halfbacks from Florida and Colorado wrapping up this list here. And then we had Caden Durham, who's been at the top relatively frequently, had a decent game, 19 carries, 112 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then a couple receiving yards on top of that. So decent game, but he's going to have to do a little bit better to hold off some of these other contenders right now. Offensive, continues to be Colorado. They continue to top the Big 12 in offensive production. They continue to top the nation in offensive production. Florida, like we said last week, is still catching up to them. And then a little bit further behind is LSU. Just the one thing that I'm noticing on this list is that they have a lot of passing yards. Colorado has a lot of passing yards. Florida has a lot of rushing yards. 2 different mindsets in the 1 and 2 spot. So we'll see if that Colorado can hold off Florida for the rest of the year. It's going to be tough. Florida's looking really, really dominant. And then defense side of the ball, Florida, as we said before, they got the offensive chops, but they also got the defensive chops. Wyoming right behind them as well. Well, maybe not right behind them. 500 yards behind. Florida has a giant lead. Florida just has an obnoxiously stacked team. And they continue to prove that week after week. We're going to look a little bit at discipline here for the penalties. We got California at the top of the list. Coach Daniel Sleeper has his team in the film room watching, making sure they don't make mistakes, and is showing on the field. Only 7 penalties all season long for 45 yards. Coach Big Papa Jr. a little bit behind him with 8 penalties. But, UConn, Coach Dusty, only 6 penalties. He does have more yards than the other 2, but only 6 penalties overall. So shout out to him for doing a great job there in the discipline for his team. And then we're going to take a last look at the recruiting. Tulane continues to be number 1. Florida continues to be right behind them. Virginia Tech pretty close as well. They're in the top 10 in the nation in recruiting right now. So shout out to those 3 coaches for doing a fantastic job in the recruiting space. And hopefully they can continue that for the rest of the season. We only got 4 or 5 weeks left before the recruiting portal or the transfer portal. Wow. So just stay on the lookout for that and be ready to do your transfers and whatnot. But that is it for the weekly update. Appreciate you guys as always for watching. We advanced the week yesterday. Again, this was a little bit of a late weekly update. I apologize for that. But because of that, we are going to be advancing tomorrow. So tomorrow, March the 2nd at midnight is when you have to have your games in. Good luck to everybody that has games. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day and even better tomorrow. Thanks, guys.